So let's return to Rudolf Steiner's Karmic Relationships. I want to keep this going in tandem with Joseph Campbell's Masks of God. This is a very difficult chapter. This is the fourth lecture that he gave in this series. And it's very difficult to read and understand, but I'm going to take a stab at it. He says he's particularly concerned with the issue of causes and effects. Now remember, he's got sort of four kingdoms or four subtle bodies, but they each correspond to a kingdom. We have the natural body, which are the hard substances within us, like calcium and so forth, that we share with the mineral world. And then we have the plant aspect of us, the etheric forces, which run our bodies for us autonomically. Just the same thing with plants. They don't have to think how to grow. They just know what to do. And then we have the astral body. And the astral body governs sensation and movement. Those are the key things. Sensation, as Arthur Young said when we were studying him, the animal has 2 degrees of freedom because it has a 360 degree radius that it can go into. But then we have something animals don't have. We have an ego. And the ego gives us our sense of individuality, of who we are. And it's the thing that transmigrates from lifetime to lifetime. So he says, you would think at first that when a person dies and leaves their physical body behind, now it's just a purely mineralogical product. And it's the same thing as the mineral kingdom. He says, but actually it isn't. There are certain bodies buried in caves, and you can go and touch them and they'll just disintegrate. Whereas the mineral world is undergoing transformation. It's undergoing, volcanoes are erupting, creating igneous rock, metamorphic rock that's being tortured to death, as it were, gradual, sedimentary. So the mineral world is doing things that a physical dead body does not. A physical dead body is simply a shell. So that's the first point he wants to make. And in a way, this reminds me of Schopenhauer's idea in one of his books where he's talking about 3 different kinds of causes: cause, stimulus, response. He says that for the natural world, for the physical world, you just simply have cause, effect, the billiard ball model. But when it comes to plants, it requires stimulus. They move in terms of stimulus. Stimulus and response. Whereas when you get to higher organisms like animals and ultimately humans, you have will. So it's cause, stimulus, response. You have will. And animals will respond to something, just as human beings will respond. So his model here reminds me a little bit of that, except Schopenhauer doesn't have all these spiritual forces. And then so he ends up saying, for the mineral kingdom, we have a simultaneity of causes and effects within the physical, but only within the physical. With plants, we have a simultaneity of causes in the physical and superphysical. Because plants, he says, let's take a look. Plants, he says, are getting their action, their life from the superphysical realm, the realm of deep etheric space, not physical space, but etheric space. And they're also getting their powers from the planets, not just the sun. The planets have a lot to do with what plants do. For one thing, the spiral growth of plants that Goethe noticed, Steiner says, has to do with them imitating the orbits of the planets. So they're receiving their power from out there in etheric space, let's say. But now he wants to ask the question about, animals. Here's an interesting exposition of a lot of his blackboard drawings. But now he wants to know about animals. Sensation and movement is a different matter. It does not receive its causality from the supraphysical world. It actually has nothing to do with the supraphysical world, except insofar as animals and humans do have etheric bodies. So a certain amount of that affects them. But what happens is, he says, with the human body, with animals, we have to deal with time now, not space. And we have to go backwards in time to find the origins of the causes of what they do. So it goes backwards in time, not present. It's not a simultaneity of presence. It goes backwards in time. The human being has to go backwards all the way to the natal period and even beyond to find that the influences come from the constellations. And here again, I'm surprised he didn't pick up astrology, because it's perfectly consistent. But it has to go back to the constellations and the different shiftings of those constellations back in time. They're different, and the temporality makes them different. And so, and then he ends up coming up with, let's see, this diagram where he says, the mineral kingdom, simultaneity of causes within the physical. So cause and effect only takes place with minerals within the physical. And in the plant kingdom, we have simultaneity of causes, but in the physical and the supraphysical, the etheric realm, this invisible dimension that we can't see. Maybe we can see it in Kirlian photography. I don't know. But it's real and it's there. Let's see. And then the animal kingdom. Past superphysical causes corresponding to present effects. And that's the main thing about animals with the astral body, is that past experiences have effects now. Whereas with minerals and plants, the causes that they're experiencing are simultaneous. There's no real reference to the past. With animals, though, animals have memory. And they can remember what happened to them. And so the experiences can have effect on where they're at now. And then with the human kingdom, past physical causes corresponding to present effects in the physical. In other words, karma. So he wants to get, this is his way, I suppose you could say, this is his way of tracing the German idealist philosophical obsession with cause and effect to karma, linking it to karma, because karma has a lot to do with what happens to us. We have free will, and so we're able to respond to it because we're beings with free will. But the past effects of past lives has everything to do with where we're at now and what we're dealing with. This gallery of images looks fantastic. I wish I could have attended it. Just fantastic that they saved his blackboard drawings. It's amazing. All right, we'll leave it there with that chapter. He's preparing now in this chapter to begin discussing the past lives of famous people. This is sort of a warm-up. So we'll start moving into that next.